Hi, welcome back to another episode of Speak Up for Blue TV, where you get the latest, greatest, and not so greatest ocean news happening around the world today. I'm Andrew Lewin, founder of SpeakUpForBlue.com, a website dedicated to supporting the ocean conservation industry through education, awareness, and action, and actually now passion. Because the reason why I'm doing this blog or vlog post or however you want to call it is because something tonight, I'm actually recording this tonight on Wednesday, but it's actually the Thursday show, because I just attended a city council meeting in Burlington, Ontario, the city that I live in. Now originally I was going to put another post on dealing with something else in ocean conservation, but I thought this was really important because the city council meeting got me fired up. So I'll give you a little bit of background on the meeting, and then I'll discuss how it relates to ocean conservation, how I feel it relates to ocean conservation. I'll make a long story short about the city council meeting. Essentially, I live in a very isolated neighborhood, an older neighborhood that was built back after World War II and was given to the World War II vets when they came home. And since then, it's grown and become quite a neighborhood, but it's been isolated. It doesn't have sidewalks, it doesn't have a sewer system, it's got big, really old trees, 50-year-old trees, sometimes even 100-year-old trees from the previous open space that it was before. And it's a really fun neighborhood to be in because you have World War II vets, and you have a mixed with the young families, and you have people who have been here for 30 years or 40 years, people who have been here for longer. I mean, it's a really very tight neighborhood. And the reason why we went to City Council today is we have a pedestrian bridge that bridges our isolated neighborhood to the rest of the city, and where we can get retail shops and restaurants and malls and things like that, and the GO train and the things like that. The problem is this bridge that connects us to the neighborhood is actually broken down, and it's actually unsafe right now. So the city is thinking of just tearing it down, not replacing it, because it costs $400,000 to fix, and then for 5 years, and it'll cost $2 million to rebuild to last 10 to 20 years. So fairly big price tag on that. What the city was thinking is doing an alternative route. The alternative route, I'm not going to go into it, was not ideal. Because we're such an isolated neighborhood, it would take us and our kids, and there's a lot of kids in our neighborhood, unsafe route by a train, because that's what the bridge goes over. It goes over the train, and it's just unsafe. It's just not right. And the pedestrian bridge is almost historical, and at one point the city council said it was almost a heritage item because we actually share a lot of time. We actually meet people on the bridge. We take our kids to watch the trains go by, and it's a really cool thing. Not only does it serve as a functional piece of property, but it also serves as like a cultural piece. So, and the fact that the mayor of our city actually called it a heritage site, or possibly a heritage site, really excited us because it hit at home. This is what we love. So anyway, at this meeting, the council was going to vote whether to tear it down and build a pathway, or replace it and then just fix it. Not replace it, but just fix it, and then discuss what to do with it later on, how to replace it and find the money to replace it. Well, going into the meeting, we were going to lose the vote. It was going to probably be torn down, but the neighborhood got together, and 30 of us showed up at this meeting, and 10 of us actually spoke. I wasn't the one that was speaking, but 10 of us actually spoke. Now, when I first went into it, I was like, I didn't go into it with all hopes, because I know how these public meetings work. You tell your story, the city council makes their decision based on what they know, and it's usually a money issue, and the money issue wasn't really in our favor. However, everybody spoke, and when they spoke, they said, the people that spoke were recounting personal stories. We had kids speaking, we had adults speaking, we had young people, older people. People have been there all their lives, or since the beginning of the neighborhood, since they came back from World War II, and everybody had a personal story to share. Some of them was, I remember when I was a kid and my parents or my grandparents took me on the bridge to look at the train to go by. And, and other people were like, it was a rite of passage. When we were 11 or 12, we actually got to go on the bridge by ourselves to meet friends across the bridge. And so all these personal stories were being told. And I was thinking to myself this whole time, this isn't going to work because nobody's actually addressing the cost of the whole situation. And the city council, every time they questioned one of the people who spoke, they said, well, what about the cost? How do you explain the cost? Cost this, cost that, cost that. And we just, everybody who spoke just kept telling their story and their personal affection for this inanimate object, this bridge. And I completely connected with them because I had the same type of connection. My kids go on there to watch the trains go by and things, and they love the bridge. So it comes to voting time, and at first going in, there was 4-3 against the bridge. That's what we knew. That's how the people would vote. So we needed 4 votes. We needed someone to turn. Ended up being that 5 people voted to keep the bridge and maintain it for very long. It's a huge victory for us because we just lost another victory to develop our neighborhood further just a couple of months ago. So now we actually get this victory. And I couldn't believe it because even though cost was a big deal, the council said we're going to find the cost because this is obviously an important part of this neighborhood. It connects the neighborhood to the rest of the city. And even the mayor himself said that it was a heritage piece and it should be kept and preserved. And I couldn't believe it. Cost did not really play a factor. They were actually going to fix the cost. And it was the passion of the people of our neighborhood that actually came and showed up in numbers and made a little offhand comments here and there. But they actually voiced their opinion and their personal stories, which I didn't think was going to work, actually worked. And the city council, each one of them, as they said their comments of why they voted, they were saying the same thing. They were saying the same thing as what the people said. They remember a time when their grandparents or their parents took them on a bridge to watch a train go by or took them to a train station to watch the trains. It's a memory that sticks with them. They remember the rite of passage when they were 11 or 12 years old where they got to do things on their own. It was an important thing for their responsibility and their independence. And each one of them were saying the exact same thing. They actually connected with one of the people. Now, whether they're telling the truth or not, I don't know. But it sure felt like they were. And it got me thinking, this is like what ocean conservation is about. Everybody that I've talked to through Facebook, on YouTube, through LinkedIn, through social media, through conferences, the people who love the ocean have such a passion for the ocean, especially the people who work in conservation. They have such a passion for the ocean that and all stems from personal stories of seeing the ocean. The connection they have when they're on the ocean, like when I'm on the ocean doing field work, or when I see the ocean, just the sense of overwhelming love for the ocean and connection that I have that is beyond all my quantitative training in science. It's just I have a deep love for the ocean. I always think about it. I think about the species. I think about the harm that's coming to them and how we need to fix it. It's always in my head. It's the reason why I started Speak Up for Blue. And it's the reason why people like Sylvia Earle and Wallace J Nichols and the Cousteaus and everybody behind the scenes, they all work because they have such a passion for the ocean. And we have to remember going forward when we conserve this ocean that the stories that affected us, that made us love the ocean so much, whether it be that first scuba dive into the ocean, whether it be that first swim into the ocean, or whether it be the first time we swallow seawater, or that we step into a lake or a river, the first time we see a dolphin in the wild, or a whale, or anything like that, that personal connection actually matters. And it really matters when you go up and you speak at these public meetings when they're talking about protecting areas or they're talking about putting in a development or sewage treatment plant in an area that you love and an area that you want to keep the same. Because I'm going to tell you, if somebody wants to put industry in there, your area, your piece of ocean that you love so much, that you fell in love with, that you have a personal connection with, that you have history with, will be changed. And it is changing all over the world. And it matters that if you go to those public meetings and you tell them your personal story, it might resonate with one of the people on these panels, and they make the decisions. And I'm not saying they may not be the best suited to say those decisions. For one thing, that resonated with me today at the city council meeting, one of the city councilors actually voted, one of the ones that voted against having the bridge. Our bridge is a series of ramps that you have to climb up and go up, and then you go down you go across the bridge and you go down a series of ramps. The ramps are put in to make it easy for bicycles, but more importantly, elderly people in our neighborhood and handicapped people in our neighborhood to get up the bridge. Because if not, it would just be stairs. Well, one of the councilors said he voted against having the bridge there because it shouldn't be there because you have to go up this huge structure and aging people will not be able to get up the structure. Well, he was completely wrong. It had no consequence of why the bridge is there. There's a reason why there's ramps on each side. It's for people who are elderly and who may not be able to climb up there, or weaker or handicapped that may not be able to have the physical strength to go upstairs, that they can actually cross this bridge. So the fact that he actually said it was the dumbest thing I've ever heard. It was the most ignorant thing I've ever heard. That was his reasoning to tear down the bridge. And as much as that frustrated me, there were 5 other people on the panel that actually had a good cause for keeping the bridge. And he was the only person that did it. So even though you may not agree with the politicians or the people on the council or the people who are making the decisions, tell your stories, show up to those meetings, and voice your opinion. Because if you don't voice your opinion, you can't complain later on down the road why the industry was put in there or why your special area changed, because you didn't voice your opinion. You didn't show up with other people who have the same opinion. That matters. Show up to these places. Now, passion goes to a certain length. There's been discussions in a LinkedIn group that I'm a part of where we're talking how frustrating it is for sometimes when people have such a passion that they use violence or they use very aggressive means to get that passion across and to conserve whatever they're trying to protect. I put in, as an example, I'm going to say Sea Shepherd. I always want to let you know, all the Sea Shepherd people out there, supporters and stuff, I don't necessarily disagree with what you're doing. Absolutely not. I understand your passion. I understand your frustration with people who do stupid things and who kill whales and who kill animals for no good reason. Completely understand. Don't necessarily agree with the way things go, in terms of violence or aggression. And a lot of people don't. They think it's bad for conservation. But I actually think it might be good for conservation in a certain way, because it gets attention of people and it says, hey, wait a minute, that's, some people start to think, well, that's not right. They shouldn't be killing whales in international waters, and somebody has to stand up for it because no other country's standing up for it. So I applaud you for doing that. But sometimes passion can go too far. And sometimes, trying to sink a boat or trying to do something violent. I'm not saying Sea Shepherd has done that because I have no evidence to prove that. But some people think that that's what happens. That's not the way to do things. I think passion can go a certain length. But to voice your opinion and to stand up and to speak up for the ocean, for the blue, however you want to call it, has so much power, especially when you do it in numbers. Especially when you go out and you do a beach cleanup, or you go out and you get a bunch of scuba divers to go out and you actually lead by example and you clean up debris from underwater. You can all do that, but it voices your opinion. Your actions, your voices actually voice your opinion, and you actually care for the ocean so much. It shows that you care for the ocean so much. So when you go to these meetings, when there's development and there's things that are going on that you don't like, that changes your passion for the ocean or your love for the ocean or your piece of ocean that you love so much, your voice matters. To tell everybody your personal stories, poems, art, anything you can, throw it at them. Because at some point, it's going to connect with somebody. It's going to put off an aha moment or a light bulb in their head and say, you know what, this person's right. This is important to the people that we represent, because that's a democracy for everybody who's in a democracy. And that's what we should do. We should listen to the people. And that's all I have to say for today. I'm very obviously you can see I'm very fired up, and I'm glad I got that off my chest. And I'm going to leave you with a question of the day. Do you agree that passion and personal stories play a role in conservation? Do you agree that it actually works? And I want you to share in the comments a time where you've actually had that work, or you haven't had it work. Maybe you shared your personal stories with a council or a body of some sort that make decisions, and it went the other way. And I want to know how you felt when that happened, because I can imagine it's not great. Leave a comment below. Share this story. I want to get this out as much as possible. Share with your networks, your family, your friends, everybody on social media. Make a comment. Subscribe to the channel. Click on the annotation below to see more of our videos. And my name is Andrew Lewin, founder of SpeakUpForBlue.com. Happy conservation, and have a great weekend.